It is Wednesday, the 26th of April, 2023. I'm about to send a message to First Unitarian Portland using their contact page. I already sent an email, but I'm using the contact page as well to make sure that it gets through them. So I am saying this morning, dear Reverend Alison Miller and all other leaders and members of First Unitarian Portland, it came to my attention this morning that the comment I posted to the YouTube video of Reverend Alison Miller's installation as senior minister of First Unitarian Portland seemed to be memory hold. It is certainly not visible and readable. This concealment of my comment that reproduces the open letter I sent to you yesterday regarding the First Unitarian Portland publishing former UUA president and former senior minister of First Unitarian Portland, Reverend Bill Sinkford's shameless minimization of Unitarian Universalism clergy sexual misconduct problem that includes such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape violates the fourth principle of Unitarian Universalism, which calls for Unitarian Universalists to engage in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. How can Unitarian Universalists, to say nothing of other people, engage in a free and responsible search for the readily verifiable objective truth and also the meaning of the open letter I sent to you yesterday if my very truthful and verifiable words are memory hold or otherwise concealed? See, and I link to the videos. I will add that engaging in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning is an essential, indeed obligatory, component of properly and genuinely practicing Unitarian Universalism's second principle, which calls upon Unitarian Universalists to affirm and promote justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. How can there be any genuine justice if Unitarian Universalists, to say nothing of other people, fail, or worse, refuse to engage in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning when injustices are brought to light? I consider any and all Unitarian Universalist censorship and suppression of the readily verifiable truth about Unitarian Universalism's clergy sexual misconduct problem, to say nothing of various other Unitarian Universalist injustices and abuses, to be part and parcel of Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse cover-up efforts. Any individual Unitarian Universalist, or indeed any Unitarian Universalist church or group, such as the UUA Board of Trustees, for example, that tries to conceal the truth about Unitarian Universalist clergy sex abuse that includes such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape, if I may quote the UUA's Canadian attorney who falsely accused me of the archaic criminal act of blasphemous libel in June 2012, is participating in clergy sexual misconduct cover-up efforts. See a typo there. In that more than only one Unitarian Universalist minister has been convicted of child sexual abuse of one kind or another. I consider any UU who tries to silence me to be a child sex abuse cover-up enabler, and I will be governing myself accordingly. I am going to repost the comment that has been memory hold or otherwise concealed, and I expect it not to be concealed again. I will repost any other comments that are memory hold, and I expect you to refrain from blocking me or muting me in any way, because that too is participating in Unitarian Universalist child sex abuse cover-up and denial, in my opinion. Here are some tweets of Reverend Alison Miller. I believe they were about former President of the USA, Donald Trump, but they are quite applicable to former UUA President Reverend Bill Sinkford and other UUA presidents, including Reverend Susan Frederick Gray and Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt. I want presidents to wield power responsibly. I'd even say it's essential. If power and wealth has so corrupted the vision of a president that he cannot see and act for the well-being of a greater number of his constituents in a crisis, then I long for other political leaders from inside and outside his party to hold him to account. What I long to hear is the voice of a president who is moved by his conscience in the face of so much devastation to admit that we must do better and grow towards greater acts of compassion, solidarity, and humility. I expect Reverend Alison Miller and the congregation of First Unitarian Portland to responsibly hold former UUA President Reverend William Bill Sinkford to account for not only his comparatively recent mendacious minimization of Unitarian Universalist clergy sexual misconduct that includes more than only one case of child sexual abuse committed by a Unitarian Universalist minister, but his past minimization of UU clergy sex abuse and any and all obstruction of justice for clergy misconduct complainants that occurred while Reverend William G. Sinkford was president of the Unitarian Universalist Association. Sincerely, Robin Edgar, aka the Emerson Avenger. I'm just going to correct the typo here. And another one up there, and then we're going to send this thing. Where's that other typo? There we go, misconduct's missing the N. So put the N. Okay, submit. And your response was successfully submitted. Thank you. So, that is that. I know I don't have a lot of memory left on this card, so the video could end at any second. But I just wanted to record that, and I will be uploading this video to YouTube. We're going to keep track of how First Unitarian Portland in general, and Reverend Alison Miller in particular, respond to my communications. I hope they will live up to saying of famous Unitarian theologian, I can't remember it. I just got to bring, I know his name, James Luther Adams, that's it, calling upon people to respond in responsibility to the Spirit that bloweth where it listeth. I think he was talking about God, the Spirit that bloweth where it listeth. But, people should respond in responsibility to what people say as well. So that's it. We will see whether or not Reverend Alison Miller or the First Unitarian Church of Portland respond in responsibility to my concerns about Reverend Bill Sinkford's, quite frankly, brazen lying about clergy sexual misconduct in the Unitarian Universalist, the religious community, to say nothing of his past involvement in Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse cover-up efforts and obstruction of justice for complainants, because while he was president of the Unitarian Universalist Association in the early 2000s, people who complained about sexual assault were brushed off, and that was while he was president. So I think he needs to face some accountability for not only his recent essentially participation in clergy abuse cover-up efforts, but also his past involvement in obstructing justice for victims of clergy misconduct. Indeed, clergy misconduct of all kinds, because I personally asked Reverend Bill Sinkford to reopen my complaint against Reverend Ray Drennan, who essentially my complaint was brushed off, dismissed by the Unitarian Universalist Association's Ministerial Fellowship Committee when I submitted it in, I believe, February of 1996, while Reverend Dr. John Burens was president of the Unitarian Universalist Association. So it was brushed off by John Burens himself, but it was also brushed off by Reverend Diane Miller and the executive of the Ministerial Fellowship Committee. It was never put in front of the Ministerial Fellowship Committee, and this happened to a lot of other people. A lot of other people filed complaints, and their complaints were brushed aside. They never were even put in front of the Ministerial Fellowship Committee to be ruled upon. So that happened to me. So when President Sinkford came in, I asked him to ensure that the Ministerial Fellowship Committee ruled on my complaint against Reverend Ray Drennan. And he initially looked like he might try to do that, but he didn't, and it never happened. And then, while he was still president, I believe, in 2006, I filed a complaint against Reverend Victoria Weinstein of First Parish Norwell for just basically, slandering and defaming me on the internet, but also just being an incredibly obnoxious, verbally abusive person in general on the internet, insulting and defaming all kinds of people, not just me. And so I brought a complaint against Reverend Victoria Weinstein in 2006, and that was also just dismissed by Reverend Dr. Tracy Robinson Harris, who I'm told had an affair with Reverend Bill Sinkford, and also Reverend Beth Miller. Those two, again, brushed everything off, swept it under the carpet, pretended, that Reverend Victoria Weinstein, wasn't doing anything wrong. Oh, by the way, I should mention that when Reverend Diane Miller brushed off my complaints against Reverend Ray Drennan, she wrote that Reverend Ray Drennan's intolerant and abusive behavior, verbally abusive behavior, as I described it in considerable detail in a lengthy letter of grievance that covered all the bases and showed how everything was out of alignment with Unitarian Universalist principles and so on. Reverend Diane Miller wrote that Reverend Ray Drennan's behavior, as I described it, seemed to us to be within the appropriate guidelines of ministerial leadership, which is quite frankly insane. It's just, but this is the kind of things they do. So I'm noticing I actually do have 26 seconds left, so we're done here. But yeah, we will see what happens with Reverend Alison Miller and First Unitarian Portland regarding their unfortunate involvement in Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse cover-up efforts, or at least their